What's your full name?
Christopher John Thomson.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Bathgate in West Lothian in Scotland on the 12th of December. No, it wasn't on the 12th of December because it was the 17th of December and it was actually 1946.
When did you move here and why?
I came here after I came out of the army in 1970.
Any reason why?
My wife is working in Bristol.
What's your earliest memory of the area?
Where, this particular area here?
Just Horfield
Bristol.
or the common?
Horfield. It was very busy, very vibrant then. The Gloucester Road was a real hub, a real big shopping centre, believe it or not. And there's really lots and lots of individual shops, and that was part of the main reason. We lived in a flat just beside St Andrew's Park, and then we decided we were going to stay here after about 3 months because my wife had a good job and I was looking for a job, and there was lots of work around here, so it was lots of reasons, and it was genuinely, it was a very good area. I had the good luck of going to join Bishop's Rugby Club, and they're based just along the road here, and it was ideal. Everything you could possibly want in the same area. It was a really good area.
What was Horfield like when you first moved here, and how has it changed?
It was a very friendly area. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of local stuff going on. There were lots of groups, and the rugby club was one of my mainstays, and it introduced both myself and my wife to a lot of local people. And when we moved into our house, most of the people had lived there for a long time, so they were all people who had lived in the area for, some of them, their whole life, in the 70s and 80-year-old. And they were very friendly people, very friendly. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, within hours of starting to move in, we had people coming asking us who we were, if we were all right, and could they do anything for us. And I mean, it really, and as you got into the area, you realised it was a very tight-knit little community, and many of the people had lived here all their life. We had several people in the tiny little street that we live in. It's only 13 houses, and at least probably more than half of them had been there all their life, and some of them were in the 70s or 80s. So it was a very neighbourly area, very neighbourly.
Do you think it's changed at all?
It has changed a bit, simply because people seem to be travelling farther away for their work. So you don't seem to see people, especially in the winter time, you don't see people because they all drive. Whereas probably in 1970, when we moved into the area, a lot more people seemed to be out and about walking, so you met people regularly, much more often. And you certainly knew, we noticed it especially now, because we knew everyone. Although they weren't always in your house being busybodies, you knew who was around, you could speak to them. Nowadays, quite often you don't get to know people for a long time, because they only ever drive in and drive out. And that has made a difference, yes. And also, it's not the community it used to be, simply because people seem to move more regularly. I think a lot of the people in the Bristol area were very lucky because they had long-term, good, steady jobs. Places like Rolls-Royce, British Aerospace as it was then, people who worked down in Edinburgh and some of the big chemical works and places like that, and of course Wills all over Bristol, people working in Wills factories doing different things. So there were some very big companies, and they all had good, steady jobs. So they were long-term jobs, family jobs really. I know at least 2 generations of a family who worked in the docks, and the youngest son still lives just across the road, and all the rest of his family have gradually either moved away or they've died off. So that is the movement of the area has certainly changed a lot, I would think. Certainly before that, people had their grandparents living 2 or 3 doors away from them or across the road. You don't seem to get that now because they all want to move to Yate or Bradley Stoke or somewhere else, because that's where the new houses are, and that's where they sort of look at things and look for different aspects of what they're looking for. And yet everything here, apart from the work, everything is just the same. But I think it's changed a lot Because of the shops. Because of the big supermarkets have moved in, the little shops have closed, so people are travelling much more. So they get in their car, they drive everywhere, where they used to walk. It's different. But it's still a lovely area, it's lovely to play. I wouldn't move, not now. Not now, no chance.
What memories do you have of the common?
Well, because I used to play rugby regularly, I was a very keen sportsman. I used to do a lot of fitness training, even in the summertime, run and round. So I used to play tennis up here, run round the common, just sort of out onto the downs and back down again, that type of thing. Played football for, used to help run, well I didn't. I ended up running an after play scheme. It started off with my son and a couple of his friends playing football at night time. And I'd come home from work at 5 o'clock at night and there'd be 12 or 15 kids waiting out on the road for me, sitting on the wall waiting for me to come home from work so we could go and play football. And it got into it went on for a long time, it went on for several years. And in the summertime we tended to play out, not on the common so much as just the field behind, on Welton Hill playing fields. And we used to play football there for hours every night of the week. And you know, because I was either playing rugby on a Saturday or sometimes a Sunday. But even then we used to be out and about doing things. You know, we'd be part of the boys club at the top of the hill. My son, he went there, so I got involved in that. We used to take them swimming, used to take them playing rugby to different places. So it was, yeah, it was, the whole area, I used to sort of, it was really a nice open space to be able to run about in. Yeah. There's a huge football and, well, mostly football and rugby, just across the road where Tesco's now is. That was all open fields. And they were proper football pitches that we looked after. So we used to get over there and we'd play football, 92 a side. It was good fun. The kids were brilliant. I still meet them now and they say about the football. It was just every night of the week they'd be sat on the wall outside the door. If the weather was good, there'd be 12 or 14 kids sitting on the wall waiting to come home and watch us to go and play football. And then one little boy who was deaf and dumb, and he used to come round, and if there was nobody, if he couldn't get anybody to, he'd come round the back door and look for me, because he just couldn't, it almost appears as if he didn't have any other friends, and he'd come looking for me to go and play football with him. It went on for years.
Do you remember any major events or celebrations that have happened in the area or on the common?
We used to have lots of street parties in the street. In fact, the streets round about Roswell Road, Hewenden Road, St Leonard's Road. In fact, we had a big one for the Queen's Silver Jubilee, I think it was, and they had Quarrington Road, which is quite a long road, good, getting on for about 200 metres. And it was closed off top to bottom, and the table right down the middle. And of course, my kids went to, Simon and Samantha went to Ashby Down School when they were little. And all the local kids round about, and everybody from the area, they had the street party there. It was absolutely, it was good. And then on the night time we were in the school for the adults. It was brilliant. It was really good fun. And we used to have a regular street parties. For any reason, any excuse at all. And yeah, they were good. We used to have some real good, kids stuff for the kids up in the field during the day, and then in the evening we'd either have the Scout Hut, which is in Welton Hill Field, and we'd have a party in there and a barbecue and all that sort of stuff. It used to be really fun, and it was all local people. You know, it wasn't people sort of buying tickets and shipping in. Yeah, they bought their own stuff, and it used to be really very good. You'd have old people, and we'd really sort of very elderly people coming out and having a few beers when they hadn't had a drink for years, and sitting on the wall singing and all this sort of nonsense. It was good fun. Yeah, they were brilliant. It was really good fun.
You kept saying you used to then.
Well, so it doesn't seem to happen so much. The people just aren't. It's almost as if now they expect you to buy a ticket and go to something that somebody else has organised. But they don't want to actually organise it themselves. So they tend to be going away to, it's the transportation thing again. They can drive to Blaise Castle, or they can drive up onto the downs and have a picnic and stuff like that. Whereas it tended then, there were a few cars around, but we tended to get all the cars out of the street, just ask people to park elsewhere, and they just open up the street, block it off at both ends, and just have a party. But they don't seem to do that now. It's not the same. It's simply because of the amount of movement of people. People are not localised. They go away for, Friday night, pack up, go away for the weekend, come back on Sunday night. So they don't tend to hang around. It's definitely, you can see the fragmentation of the sort of the people. You've got the young people who are working, obviously, and then the older people who tend to be out and about during the day. We don't see them in the evenings or at night, especially in the winter time. And there isn't that same sort of cohesion. There's not the same sort of neighbourliness as that it used to be. But it seems almost as if people don't want to organise things for themselves. They don't organise parties, stuff like that. They all expect it all be done. I'll come along and somebody will give me food and someone else will play the music. Whereas we used to do it all. You'd have kitchen tables, out in the street. There wasn't anything fancy about it. It was just a couple of scaffold planks, with a couple of trestles, and people just get on with it. But it doesn't happen now. It doesn't happen as much now. I know a couple of places around who have tried to do it, but it used to be, it was a big deal. There was lots and lots of people got involved in it. Stuff like, even the people who couldn't cook or, didn't want to, be involved. They'd be making bunting and putting bunting up around their houses and all sorts of stuff. As I say, a couple of times all we had was a couple of dustbins turned on their side and a couple of scaffold planks just sat on top of it, the seat. And we'd have photographs around, and you'd have maybe 40 or 50 people all sat in fact we had them sat on the road. Just put people bringing out carpets and cushions and just sitting down. It was great. It was a real good laugh. And there was no rowdiness around like that, but we had one that went on, it must have been 5 o'clock in the morning when we packed up and went home. The kids had all gone to bed. They'd been put to bed and we just sat out there having a laugh, a giggle. It was brilliant. The big thing is now, it seems that people, they'd have a sing-song, they'd sit and sing, some of these old silly songs that they sung. But they all want music, you've got to have somebody, and you've got to have a licence to play music and all this sort of nonsense. We just got on with it, we just organised it. Somebody brought a CD player on, it was new, someone, wow, somebody's got a tape player. But it tended to be just people singing and dancing, some people playing guitars and violins and stuff. We just got out and played it. A couple of people sat on the wall, got drunk, fell in somebody's garden. So what? Nobody bothered about it. It was just one of those things. It happened. We used to have different things for the kids. They'd play, sports days and stuff like that. But it all seemed to. It was all encapsulated in the one thing. It was just a matter of we'd have a street party, and it would turn into a bit of a kickabout in the field or running around playing, and there'd be somebody singing and stuff like that. But it wasn't as if there was any separate events. It was, they'd have a barbecue. We used to have several barbecues every year, and they just say, we'll have one bank holiday or something like that, and people just chip in. They'd bring the barbecue out, we'd get 3 or 4 barbecues going, and people would bring what they wanted, more or less. It wasn't as if anybody organised it and said, we'll bring this, we'll bring that. They just brought what they wanted, and then certain people set fire to the fence.
You think your children have had a different experience living here than you have?
Yeah, for me personally, yes. I was brought up with a really big family. My mother was one of 11, 12, probably 14, and my mother's family all lived within a couple of 100 yards of one another, and it was a big family. So I was brought up within a real close environment, and really sort of, you couldn't say it was rural because the area I lived in was a heavy industrial area, but it was a very close-knit community, really close-knit. Whereas my children, when they were children that is, they were brought up in a good environment here, but not with the heavy type of industry that we put up with. The area I came from was heavily mined. Probably within a 3-mile radius of where I was born, there was 4 separate collieries working, 2 steel works, And I actually, the house I was born in was about 25, 30 metres away from the railway. So I mean, and it was a constant use. So, you know, the area that they were brought up in really, apart from the odd smell coming from Avonmouth, is a really nice ambience in the area. They've always had open space. In fact, the only heavy, you could say, industrial use was really probably the laundry. And I mean, that closed down a long time ago. There was still a lot of vehicles going around, but that was the only real, the noise from places like British Aerospace and Rolls-Royce, you know, the aircraft taking off and so on when we were testing the engines. But I mean, really, a very nice area we brought up in. So they've been really in a very urban area where I was brought up in. It was heavily industrialised, but within 5 minutes you could be on the countryside. But it was a really very dirty atmosphere, and the actual environment was very dusty and mucky and sooty and everything that you wanted. But this is completely different down here. So and also they haven't had the tight knit family. I mean, I could never walk more than say 200-300 yards, and I'd probably meet 4 or 5 people I was related to, or even if I didn't realise I was related to them, they knew me. So it was a really different sort of atmosphere to be brought up in. So yeah, I suppose in a way they've been brought up in a really different sort of environment, if you want to put it that way, really. Yeah. And also they've had great opportunities. I mean, Bristol, there's a lot of stuff in Bristol. I never ever knew music at school. The school my kids went to, you know, they had the choice to play instruments if they wanted to. Simon, Samantha, they both started playing the guitar. Samantha played the recorders. I think she was going to play the violin until she had it screeching in her ears. And then yeah, they had a great opportunity to play lots of things. When I went to school, the only thing they were interested in was when you grew up, you were going to go down the mines. That was all they were looking forward to. But I said, can't be bad, still here.
You mentioned the laundry. Can you tell me anything about?
The only thing I ever remember about the laundry, because I used to go to work early in the morning, there was all sorts of vans about, whether they were going in or coming out. Of course you had Southmead Hospital, which was a massive place, and you had a lot of smaller, what could you call them, I suppose, little units, you know, where you sort of, like nursing homes and stuff like that. There's also lots of vehicles coming in and out, or up and down the road. That's the only thing I can really remember. And also the smoke coming out of the chimney. Or steam, I presume it wasn't smoke, because they didn't have coal boilers in those days. You're talking about probably 73, 74. And that's the only thing I can really use, is the vans and the cars. I don't mean, yeah, that's about it. I don't know. They continued to use it for a long time. I think they used it just for basically for the vehicles, more or less, coming in and out. Whether they actually used to service them there, I don't know. But certainly there were a few of them around. They kept changing the name, Sunlight Laundry, and there'd be all sorts of things. You know, somebody linen service, but Brooks, and then it was somebody else. So there's always loads and loads of vehicles around. But that was really that's the only thing I can remember about the laundry. I don't know what it actually finished as a function in laundry. But there's also lots of small industrial places around as well. You know, almost like backstreet industries. You'd have a machine shop just off Maple Road. Between Maple Road and Longmead Avenue, there was lots of little factories and places doing bits and pieces where you don't see that at all now. You know, there's one or two little garages around now, but there's no what you could call employers around really. They're all sort of one-man bands who are doing things, but you'd have maybe a little factory, 7 or 8 people, you know, a machine shop making things. What they made, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff like that around. The great thing about around here was there was always somebody, if you wanted something, there was always somebody who either knew where to get it or could make it. Lots of little, and there was a lot of people who were very, they were very skillful, and they had the equipment to do jobs. They could do things. There's a man who used to live just off Maple Road, and he had a fairly big garage, and he used to do all sorts of metal work. You know, he'd make things. You know, we'll go and see so and so. He'll do that. You know, so but you don't see that now because most of the gardens have been built in. You know, they've got houses in them or something or other. But lots of there used to be even the garages down here, still there. There was lots of people who used to do, you know, if you wanted something welded, you know, somebody down there, he could do it there, or he'd take it away and bring it back. He could do all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So that has changed the area, a lot of it. But I suppose that's the same everywhere. You know, people have got away from sort of, you know, making things to sit and look at a computer. You know, most of the work is just sitting in an office somewhere, you know, punching keys or answering the telephone.
Could you tell me a little bit about your life in Horfield today and your involvement in the community or activities?
It's a very vibrant area, really. I mean, the rugby club was a great, you know, sort of social environment, if you want to put it that way. And we were involved with the boys' club up the top when Simon was younger. In fact, still know quite a number of people who go up there, and also the youth club that used to be in the church. So we're still involved in some of that. We try and help them if we can. The social life is very good. You know, so there's lots of things going on, small things, like little theatre groups, and there's a dance club which is run 2 or 3, well, it's not run every week, every Saturday up in the church hall. And they've been there for donkey's years. You know, it's just not, you know, if you know it's there, but it's not sort of what you could call sort of in your face. You know, it's just that they have the dance club and they go there dancing. There's theatre club, there's a couple of theatre clubs and stuff like that going on. And apart from the sporting side of it, there's a lot of social things going on. And I don't know if there was more going on before. I think there was, in a way, but I think a lot of things are still going on, but they're not sort of quite so publicised as it used to be. You know, they're still there. The church has got a lot of things going on in it, but there's also a lot of other social things going on as well. I mean, you've got things like they've got mother and toddler groups and stuff like that. They're all sort of being run quietly in the background. But there's lots of things going on. It's a nice area. It's a nice area. It has changed. It's changed away from the industrial side of it to a much more I don't know what you call it then. The people seem to work in offices a lot more than, you know, anything else. They're not actually people who go out and make things. They're more people who just, you know, whatever they do. You know, they go away in their suit, they come home in their suit. You know, you don't know what they do. But generally, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's lots of sports clubs in the area as well. You know, mostly based, unfortunately, in church halls because they've got the space. You know, things like the tennis club that used to be here, they've gone. But there's 2 or 3 tennis clubs within half a mile, and yeah, that type of thing. Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about the Ardagh and the bowling club? Because you're involved, aren't you?
What do you want to know about it? It's a wonderful little club. As you say, it's in a fantastic area. It's been here since basically the green. As far as I know, the green was put down in 1923, and at that time, I suppose, when you look round, it was a time when people were getting over the First World War and then the recession, and this was a way of making, I think, the council at that time had a great idea of getting people out into recreation. So this is when this was done. It was opened actually in, I think the green was put down in 1923, and officially the club says it was formed in 1926. It was the first, in fact there used to be a picture just where he's sitting. 1926 there was the opening of the green, but there must have been a bowls club before there because they had a lot of members and they all had the equipment and stuff like that. And it's survived up until now. It's keeping going. It's got a great history actually. It's been here for a long, long time. The tennis club used to share this building, but they closed about 20 years ago now, I suppose. And it's a wonderful little club, it really is. Got some wonderful bowlers. I mean, we've had international people who played for England and all the rest of it, who have actually played here. And very competitive, but also a very, very friendly club. You know, a good club, genuinely. It doesn't suit everybody, but it suits me, and it suits a lot of people like-minded. A lot of people who come to play here have been played other sports, but they're too bloody old now. But it's a good club, and it's always been a very social little club. Yeah. And the area, well, this actually place where we are, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, when you go back a few years ago when the guys were based here, the gardens, you wouldn't have believed them. They were absolutely stunning. They were really beautiful. They've gone downhill a little bit since then, but I mean, they can be regenerated. It's just money all the time. And the actual, like now, it's miserable and cold and grey, but when you see it in the summertime and the sunshine, it's fabulous. Fabulous place. And I love it.
Do you know of, or have you heard any sort of little folk tales or histories or stories of the Common or Horfield?
I've had lots of stories, but I couldn't possibly repeat them. Yeah, there's lots of things. I mean, people, in fact, one of our neighbours who died a long time ago, but she had been here all her life. She was actually born in the house, and her family bought the house from the builders of it, and originally, that was the 1890s, 1897, wasn't it? She had lived there all her life, all the days of her life she lived there. She was over 90 when she passed away, and oh, she was fantastic. She had wonderful stories. They used to sleep out on the common at night. They'd make a tent out of blankets and they'd sleep out on the common. That was their idea of a holiday. And then they try to make sure that the cows, because the cow shed is it's a garage at the moment. It's been there. Well, it's been here since it's got to be the 1895 or something like that. It was originally a farm, so it was a cow shed, and they used to have to chase the cows away off the field. And if any of the gates into the back gardens got knocked down, the cows would be into the gardens. Yeah, so it's wonderful when you think about it. In the centre of Bristol, you wouldn't believe that people were, and people used to have chickens. In fact, somebody down the road there's just still got chickens, and a lady used to have ducks, but the foxes got there. So there's a lot of stuff. It's a very, I wouldn't say it's historic in a way, but there's a lot of things going on. Apparently, a lot of people reckon that part of Maple Road, or just behind Maple Road down the bottom here, there was a couple of bombs dropped during the Second World War. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But certainly one of our neighbours, when he was a little boy, he was about 12 or 13, he used to go out during the air raids and collect shrapnel. And he said he was, the cinema on the Gloucester Road, he was sitting, he went up the steps of the cinema, the steps at the front of the cinema, there was about 5 steps going up into the cinema, and digging shrapnel out of the concrete. It was him and his friends used to go out saving this, see how many bits of scrap they could get, scrap shrapnel, and also they used to be a set of guns up on top of Purdown, and they used to get, of course, they fired up into the air at the aircraft, and of course once they bursted, all the bit come back down. So they used to go around collecting them. But I don't really know. There used to be over on the football field over there. They built houses during, well, I say buildings. I don't know if they were houses or not, to house a school, because the schools had been blitzed in the centre of Bristol. So they brought the children out here to the school up in the common. And there's lots of funny things that people talk about them. You think, is that real? Can it possibly be real? But you don't know. They say it is, so you've got to believe them. They were here. So yeah, weird thing. Because somebody, I had a friend of mine actually. He lives a neighbour, and he said that we were doing some work on his house years ago. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm trying to put the windows straight." He said, "Apparently there was a bomb out in the common, and this is part of the damage that was done to it, because the concussion of the bang had actually dislodged the stones in the front window. So they had put them back in, but not very well. But over the period of time, they had sort of deteriorated, and you had a gap between the wood of the window frame and the stonework of the building. Was a gap like about that." That was his story. That's what he'd been told. So, yeah. But I mean, nothing major. I know there's some of the old history people say, "Well, there used to be a highwayman up here," and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. There's some right bandits around here now.